Welcome to the Treehouse Football Podcast. I'm Dan O'Malley along with Trey Trenholm and Raj Sharma. You can always catch the regular version of the Treehouse Podcast, the same places that you're getting the Treehouse Football Podcast. But if you found this one first, welcome. And you want to find the regular Treehouse Podcast where we talk about a bunch of other just inane stupidity outside of sports stupidity, you can find us there. Otherwise, if you're from the regular Treehouse and you found yourself in the football podcast, welcome, because now we're going to talk sports stupidly in our own special way. So let's not waste any time. Cowboys week 2 are now 2-0 against the state of New York.
Yeah, that's and they look, man, do they look. I was when they let go of Kellen Moore, who I last season was like, I can't believe they're going to do that. He's the brains behind the play calling. He's young and he's got ideas and he's got a new way of looking at things. And now I'm like, that was a good move because you put it back in the hands of Mike McCarthy, and you got Dan Quinn doing his magic, and they look really not. And I hope I don't jinx it, but they look really good.
Do not give yourself that amount of power to jinx the most successful sports franchise on the planet. They will do that on their own at some point, as we all know, as lifelong Dallas Cowboys fans. They will find a way to disappoint us. We cannot do anything to jinx them that they will not do themselves first. So don't listen to anyone that ever gives themselves that power to be able to derail a train that was already on one wheel anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Because
now, that being said,
yeah,
for the last pushing 30 years since the Cowboys have won a Super Bowl, the Cowboys train has been on one side, right? It's just a matter of it's going to tip over.
Yeah.
But for 30 years, it has not gotten fully back on track.
Right.
But this year is starting out how a handful of other years have in the past 30 years since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, which is they're on that one side of the track, but it looks like they're leaning towards getting fully back on track and headed towards the Super Bowl. But again, this is sort of like, Charlie Brown in the football. We're used to it being pulled out from underneath us somewhere in the divisional round of the playoffs. So we're cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, if they can maintain, like if everybody stays healthy and I love everybody's, and I'm just watching SportsCenter, I just love everybody's idea of play towards Micah Parsons. I'm like, please do play towards him, run the ball. They're like, you should run in his direction. I'm like, that sounds great. You guys keep doing
you know
that.
What, real quick, just, and I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts on that strategy too much, but I will say this. So far in Micah Parsons' career, he has shown you not to run away from him because he will run you down like a lion. Yeah. So you know what? Run at him, give it a shot. It's better than doing the same thing and not being successful.
And I think that's what if you're watching SportsCenter like early in the morning, I think that's I can't remember his name. He's a young kid. He's like, I think that's his philosophy. He's like, hey, how could it hurt?
The other stuff's not working. At that point, it's the definition of insanity. So the other option is to hire a literal big game hunter to come to the stadium and shoot Micah, I'm a Lion Parsons dead on the field before the game starts. That's your only other option. Trey?
No, it's just, I mean, at a certain point, element of surprise. Everyone goes away from Micah, so if he sees something coming at him, he might just for a split second go, what the hell? Long enough for a block to be laid, or maybe it'll work.
He might go from I'm a lion to deer in the headlights. Like let's just switch.
But it'll work probably for one play. If it works, it might work for one play. After that, now he's going to be ready for it. And he's going to be standing there with his jaws open, just ready to eat whatever comes at him.
Well,
go ahead.
No, he's also if you get that one play off with him, he's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So, you got a whole other problem.
Oh, no, you're right. Like he already plays with a chip on his shoulder and every other joint. So do you really want, that's a great point, Trey. Do you really want to piss him off even more?
Yeah, I would just love to hear that on the opposing team sideline. Like, hey, I think we made him mad.
Just imagine the team that decides to run at Micah Parsons one time just to try that theory, right?
Yeah.
And then he devours that team, that offense for the rest of the game based on that one play. Now imagine you're a player on the offensive side of the ball in the next week's opponent for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And on the game plan up on the screen that the coach puts up is hang on, I lost my train of thought. But the game plan is just nothing with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I just I just want to be in that coach's huddle when they're like, "Hey, so whose idea was this? Who decided to do this? Can we call a timeout? We're in the locker room. No, we can't call a timeout. He's coming for us now, and he's angry. Send him flowers. Like I don't know what you would do at that point. Like like I said, like you were saying, he plays with I think he plays angry. Like that's what it like. He plays like they've offended him by showing up in his house. Like that's how he plays. And if everybody can get on board with doing that, I was gonna ask this, and only because I come from the underdog. Billy and I talked about this when I did the radio the other day. Is my first season of high school football. Not to brag. I played 9 seconds, and no, it was glorious because I also got illegal motion in 9 seconds, and I was pulled off the field. So in 9 seconds, I was removed from the field with a penalty.
So far, this story has lasted longer than your football playing days.
100%. When it comes to the Jets quarterback, Wilson. Is it okay? They're calling him the worst quarterback in the NFL? That statistically he is, right? But then when he has the offensive line doing what they're doing, he's the second best quarterback in the NFL as of week 2. When he has the opportunities that a quarterback would normally have if it were Aaron Rodgers taking the snaps. Is I don't know how this works as far as, I mean, you played high school football and Trey, you will understand this as well. You guys played. Is that a fair assessment to make? Like, he's not. His whole thing was, I'm not going to be the guy, and now he is the guy, and he's not the guy. And everybody's like, well, he's not the guy. He's like, I've been telling you, I'm not him. So is it a fair assessment to make for a player that isn't living up to the expectations of an Aaron Rodgers? Do you see the point that I'm trying to make? Like, I don't know why everybody's coming after the guy when he's already kind of gone, yeah, I told you guys I'm not the guy. Like, I'm not
Trey,
him.
I'll let you take the first swing at this.
I mean, you have 2 years of him playing that shows you he's not the guy. He is, in my opinion, a bust as a first-round pick, but maybe a serviceable backup. And that's kind of where he is now. I mean, he's right. Better than most backups. But
my theory
is
on
he
this...
Go
ahead, Trey.
Is he going to take you to the promised land? I don't think so.
I look at that, what you just said, Trey. One point is, if you can have just a serviceable quarterback take you to and win a Super Bowl, then it works. It doesn't matter whatever your pedigree is or was, where you were drafted. Whereas if you're a top pick like Zach Wilson was, I believe he was number 2 in the draft that the Jets took, a lot of things still have to fall into place for all that to work out. There's a lot of luck involved. There's a reason why Eli Manning and the Manning family did not want him going to San Diego, and instead were happy to send him to the Jets. And they manipulated that whole situation because they said to San Diego, we're not going to you. Do not pick us. Well, so he ends up in New York, and he ends up winning a pair of Super Bowls. Whereas if he goes to San Diego, who knows? And then other teams where they've had really talented quarterbacks, sometimes they get drafted into just horrible situations. Bad coach, bad GM, bad franchise. Look, any quarterback that the Redskins / Commanders have taken in the last 15 years will tell you what I'm talking about, which is sometimes you just get drafted into a bad situation. Doesn't mean you are a bad player. It just means if you were drafted into a good position, like, say, a Troy Aikman, when he was taken number 1 by the Cowboys, phenomenal situation to be in, and it worked out great.
Well, if there was ever anyone who knows the perils of getting drafted to a bad team, it was Archie Manning. I mean, he suffered through like the horrible days of New Orleans.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about serviceable, if you have the team around them, which the team that comes to mind of serviceable quarterback winning a Super Bowl is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep, that's exactly who I had in my mind. I could see his face.
I mean, and it's both Dilfer and Flacco. I mean, Flacco was, but like he won the Super Bowl, got a big contract, and I think he died on the Jets.
Speaking of which, I'd like to revisit that week 2 win, Cowboys over Jets. It was seemingly a really bad week for the Jets. You lose Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles on Monday night.
Okay, how did that not get a slow clap?
And then you get your ass. What?
How did that not get the slow clap? It was a seemingly bad week for the Jets. Like,
because I'm not done setting it all up, Raj.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think it was seemingly, or maybe it was. Whatever. It was a bad week for the Jets. You had Aaron Rodgers on Monday night snap his Achilles in front of everybody. Then, not even a week later, they get their ass whipped in Texas by the Cowboys 30-10. And then the military lost an actual jet, which made everything really, really bad for Jets all around.
Yeah, they didn't lose the pilot, though, so that's a good thing.
Pilot is safe. The pilot, I think, is in better shape than Aaron Rodgers' Achilles and is also in better shape career-wise than Zach Wilson.
Yes,
I'd also like to point out that the Cowboys defense in 2 weeks, now granted it's only 2 weeks and this will change, but for 2 weeks, the Dallas Cowboys defense has scored the same number of touchdowns as its opposing offenses have. 7-7 or 6-6 if you want to be technical.
Yeah. It's nice to see. I think he was out of rhythm the first week. But I think he's got his swag back. Is seeing Trayvon Diggs getting. I think he got a second half. Well, he got a pick in the second half. And I know they don't throw to his side a lot, but it was nice to see because we would last year, like it was just you just automatically assumed he was going to get 2 to 3 if he was on fire, 2 to 3 maybe per game. But at least 2 picks. And it was not because I don't think he got one week 1.
Which you're talking about that in the Cowboys defense. It reminds me in turnovers, going back to how we started this, of running at Micah Parsons and that strip that he made, that could have been all close to a touchdown. And like, you want to run at that guy? Like that is, this brings me back to one of my favorite sports moments of all time. Dan, you'll appreciate this. Raj, I don't know because we never talked about it, but the kind of element of surprise you need to run at Micah Parsons is the same when they let Benji Molina steal second base in that playoff game. The catcher was so shocked he couldn't even get the throw off in time.
That was right there what you call an oh shit moment. Because the catcher sees slow ass Benji Molina running towards the next base, and I'm sure the catcher's like, wait, he's wondering, am I still coming down off the shrooms I had last night or whatever? Because that I can't be that doesn't happen. No, that's not it. Oh, and then next thing you know, the entire dugout's yelling at him that it's happening. Oh, it's happening. Oh, I can't. And then what's the point? Benji Molina, slow as he is, he's standing on top of the bat.
Yeah, I don't think that was the technical term is stripping the ball. I think he was just like, give that to me. Like that's the if you watch the replay of Michael Parsons taking the ball, he was just like, that's not yours. Like that's just how he looked at it. Like that's my ball. Like and he just took that from a grown man. Like, do we understand? Like when I watch this stuff, like I watch it from a different perspective. I'm like, that's a grown man that just snapped. That he just no. This is what he said. Is like, give me that. Also, when it comes to the I always forget their age. I forget how young of a team that the Jets are and how seasoned the Cowboys are. If that is that, we don't want to say old, right? They're older players.
They're not old.
They're not old. They're seasoned. But you're also dealing with a younger team. So I don't know. I thought they played really well. They looked good. I was wrong in my assumption that Kellen Moore was the brains of the operation, like I thought he was last year. And Dan Quinn is magic. That's my assessment of week 2 so far. So I mean, week 6 I could be having like Dan Quinn sucks. Like I don't know, but everything seems to be working really well.
I can't figure out why. Like, I know Dan Quinn was mentioned with some head coaching jobs. I'm shocked that he didn't get one. Because
I think it's because I don't think it's because of lack of desire on his part. I think it's because he has a sense of seeing this through. I think he realizes that this team is really, really, really on the precipice of true success.
Yeah,
and I think he's connected enough to some of these players, like a Micah Parsons, that he really wants to be a part of something special like that, and then go get another head coaching job. Like I think this will be Dan Quinn's last season as defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Oh wow, okay.
Unless something really just falls out and the train ends up in a ditch, like we've seen previous seasons happen. I think if they have success beyond the divisional round of the playoffs this year, I think Dan Quinn will take a head coaching job the next year.
Wow. Okay. Bold prediction. I like it.
Well, because Dan Quinn's signing in the first place was huge for the Cowboys. We weren't really sure of it at the time, but then when they re-signed him, that was one of their most important offseason acquisitions.
Yeah.
Or Dan Quinn, he may have figured out that being the coordinator is a much easier gig. He can demand a high, probably be the highest coordinator salary, but without having all the crap that a head coach, because I mean, he got his fill.
That's what
Atlanta.
I would say. Yeah, that's the angle I would have taken, Trey, is exactly that. Like, why wouldn't you just get a higher paying defensive coordinator job instead of going for, because then everything, then the whole team rests on your shoulders as opposed to just one side of the ball. I don't know. I don't know if the mindset that it takes to be the head, like I don't have that I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could have all that weight on my shoulders every single week. It's like the same thing like with being a pilot. Like I don't know if I could do that and have all these people counting on me. I'm like, can I just be over here and I'll just do the defense? I'd rather take that responsibility. Like,
and if we're looking at it, and I don't think Dan Quinn looks at it this way, but if you wanted to have this perspective, you could assign it, which is Dan Quinn's got a great gig, because the only real game plan he would really have to do is to go to Micah Parsons before each game and whisper what he says the other team said about him on the other side of the field before kickoff. And then you just step back and you go to the safest place in the building, which is up in that booth, far away from the carnage that Micah Parsons is about to do.
Yeah, that I would love.
He just basically, his entire game plan could be, all right, I'm gonna go down to the field, I'm gonna grab this little wind-up stick on the back of Micah Parsons, I'm gonna wind it all the way up, and then I'm gonna run away.
Or he may just be biding his time, thinking that McCarthy's going to get fired, and he goes down before the game and just gives him some solid play calling. But hey, run more of those 2-yard outs.
Yeah. And that's the other strategy that I also think makes a lot of sense, which is basically what Jason Garrett did for a while. He could have gone off and got a head coaching job somewhere else, but he didn't, because he knew Wade Phillips' days were numbered and he was going to be the head coach of the Cowboys. And I think that actually is a great strategy in mind if you're Dan Quinn, which is, look, Mike McCarthy's great. If we win a football bowl, if we win a Super Bowl together, this will be awesome. And I can go on and get a head coaching job with a Super Bowl ring, and that'll be great. Or I stay here, the Cowboys train falls off the tracks yet again, and Mike McCarthy loses his job, and Jerry Jones now loves Dan Quinn, promotes him to head coach, and now you've got a new head coaching job, and you get to go down to the field every day and tell Micah Parsons what the business is.
Yeah. Okay. I'm now that's what I want to happen. I'm like, okay, let's screw this season. Let's get Dan Quinn next year. like that's what in my head I'm like, well, that would be cool to see on the sideline. Like that would be an interesting take. Yeah.
No, I still think even if that were to happen, if the Cowboys season falls apart, McCarthy gets fired, and Dan Quinn gets promoted to head coach, I still think Dan Quinn is going to do the Micah Parsons wind up and then still run up to the booth above the field just because it's safer that way.
The only head coach in the booth.
It's dangerous down there.
It is. It's like he has to turn to his coordinators next week. Go like, yeah, this is the safest. This is the best spot to be. You get to see everything, and you don't get accidentally eaten by Micah Parsons, which is an unfortunate thing because if you're a teammate of Micah Parsons, you have to just give him a little bit of room so he doesn't, munch on you at the same time.
He's gonna kill people. That's why I'm up here. I would love to see a head coach in the booth. That would be that. If I were a head, that's where I would be. I'm like, can I just sit?
Yeah.
Can I just sit and watch? Like, you're the coach. Like I would have, like, I would be my old high school coach. I would just have hot dog and popcorn and a Coke. I'm like, what are you doing?
And you have the headphones on to make it look like you're doing some actual coaching, when in reality, you're actually just listening to the Treehouse football podcast.
You're listening to the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com. You're listening to the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
Helps if I turn my mic on. In the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, it's still a baby, but you can still glean some things out of 2 weeks. The Cowboys' combined points are 60-10. So I feel pretty good about going to Arizona, facing the 0-2 Cardinals in the late afternoon game on Sunday. Do you, Trey, have any at all trepidation about this game whatsoever, or are we about to go up like 100-13 as far as 3 weeks in the NFL season?
And it always scares me to say this with the Cowboys and or Longhorns or any of my teams, that I don't really have a lot of fear going into Arizona. I watched some of their game. I don't even know who's playing their quarterback. I think it's Hobbs. I have no idea who it is.
No, that's who Robert Redford played in The Natural. He was a great right fielder. He was great at the plate. I don't remember how good of an arm he had, but I don't like what the age would be on the Roy Hobbs character playing quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. The quarterback for Arizona is Josh Dobbs. So you may remember him from when he was playing with Tennessee last year, and he wasn't even on the team the week that they had to play the Cowboys. And Josh Dobbs, or maybe it was the week before he had been called up to Tennessee, whatever it was. He wasn't on the team. They had major injuries in Tennessee. He ends up getting a call to come play football again. And I think it was against Dallas. They lose 27-13. And honestly, seemed like a great young man. He went to college for aerospace engineering. Wow. So he's got a hell of a brain on him, but unless Dak Prescott and Josh Dobbs are taking an aerospace engineering test, I like our chances.
Yeah, I don't think I've kept. I mean, I used to, when I was playing fantasy football, I would keep up with the Cardinals because I had Larry Fitzgerald as my receiver. I don't think I've kept. I don't think there's anything like major that's happened with that, like the major moves that have happened or player acquisitions that have happened that would make it something that we would have to worry about. Like, I think
Josh Dobbs as a quarterback is not one that should scare you as the Cowboys, especially when the previous time you played Josh Dobbs, the quarterback in Tennessee, his parents made the drive from Michigan and were caught on national television enjoying the game. Those were the people that were viral last year after that game because it was a Sunday night football game, or no, Thursday night football game, and Cowboys won 27-13, and his parents looked like they had been abducted and forced to watch the game that their son played in. So I would imagine they're not going to be making a special trip for this game.
That's the saddest picture I've seen.
Long story short, I feel like Trey. I feel highly confident that the Cowboys will move to 3-0 after this week's game in Arizona. Raj, any trepidation on your part?
No, I just, I'm that guy, right? I'm like, well, this is the one that they walk into going, oh, we got this. And there's a desperation on the side of the Cardinals of we've got to, for our fans, for ourselves, for our morale, for our egos, we have to win this. And on the flip side, the Cowboys are going, it's them. And that's when I worry. Like, are the Cowboys going to come in too light, and then Arizona comes in too heavy? I don't think there's anything to worry about. But yeah, go ahead.
I think Arizona is such a dumpster fire after the Kingsbury experience that, I mean, you hired a coach that didn't even have a winning record at Texas Tech.
Yeah,
and then he drafts a quarterback that he likes, and mind you, never forget this. Where Kingsbury really made his name was he was the OC at A&M when they had Manziel, which the circumstances that led into that year, A&M, new coach, quarterback no one's ever heard of, in a new conference and teams they have never played before. Because other than that, then you watch the experience from then on, and then everyone figured it out, and no big deal.
Basically, Cliff Kingsbury got to ride the wave of being the new guy for a handful of years, and good on him for it.
Yeah, he got to ride the Johnny football wave. And then, just because he's a good-looking guy, and I don't understand this. I don't understand this with NFL when it comes to coaches or quarterbacks, of why they see someone who really doesn't fit the bill, but they think, we can make him that guy. We see the potential no one else does.
It's called arrogance.
Well, yes,
that's what coaches like. That's what coaches do. Like when kids don't sign, and this is just my perspective. Kids don't sign up for Pee Wee going, I'm going to be the coaches see that and go, that's going to be that guy's the quarterback. Like I see that leadership, that arrogance, that chip, whatever it is. So they want to cultivate that. And everybody wants to be the guy that picks the next big thing. Like, that's what I love about the Johnny Manziel story. I'm like, that dude was my spirit animal. That dude was signing autographs for money in college. I'm like, I love this dude. He was doing illegal stuff in college. I'm like, he's going to wash out so fast. I love this. But every coach, like, he's got it. Like and I hope he's not listening, but we had a quarterback in high school that every coach was like, he is the real deal. And it couldn't have been more incorrect. Just overall, you're just
a good old fashioned flame out, huh?
Yeah. Everybody, the coaches, that's who they pick. Like that's the guy. And so when you're talking about how he randomly picked the guy that he likes, I think that's what, at the end of the day, I think that's what it is. Like, I can mold this man into what I want him to be.
Look at Kingsbury's experience and his successes, and if you look at Johnny Manziel, I believe he had Baker Mayfield at one point.
Okay,
and so he likes undersized quarterbacks that maybe can scramble. And you're right, every coach wants to be the guy that says, "I discovered that."
Yes,
and it's fine if you're in high school. Even in college.
Yeah.
But in the pros where draft picks, your first round pick is so vital, and especially the quarterback position is so vital. Yeah. One bad pick, you've just screwed your franchise for 3 to 5 years.
And you probably are going to get fired, which is exactly what happened to Cliff Kingsbury. And now he's going to have to start all over somewhere else trying to figure out, okay, let me find a new tiny white guy to ride back into the NFL.
No, he did what Kingsbury is actually for his looks, everything, he now has the perfect job for him, which is the offensive coordinator of the USC Trojans.
That is a good gig. And it's the sad thing is when it comes time for meetings with his team, and he puts up the game plan for the week, he's going to be really embarrassed when it has nothing to do with football and it's just photos of co-eds that he's pre-selected. And so we're talking more about Cliff Kingsbury than we are the actual coach of Arizona, which is the former defensive coordinator of the Eagles.
I was about to say, who is the coach of the? I don't even
Yeah.
know. Who is the coach of Arizona?
Any research before these shows, and you know what? I'm not mad about it.
It's just one of those things.
There's no reason on this Treehouse Football podcast to get mired in details and facts. Let's just go on good old fashioned stupid fan passion, opinions, and the occasional toilet joke.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I guess that's why there was no me looking.
So what you're saying is now, after we just spent the last 7 minutes or so decrying the arrogance of coaches, we're now being arrogant Cowboys fans, which is what most other teams' fan bases hate about us, is when we're just 2 weeks good. We're only 2 weeks good in this season, and we're already getting cocky about going on the road to Arizona.
Are we being cocky? Our slogan is America's team. we just decided that for you. Like that's the arrogance that they hate us about when they.
Well, no, that's the other thing too is the Cowboys fans didn't select that.
Right.
Tex Schramm didn't select that. That was NFL Films. That's the Sable family's fault. Yeah, and it just stuck.
Yeah. I like how they just walk around like, we're America's team. I'm like, yeah, we are. When I was in Ireland doing shows many years ago, and that was the number one selling hat in all of Ireland was the Cowboys hat. And the second was the Yankees.
I mean, there's no other franchise that has been as mediocre as the Cowboys have for the last 30 years. And they're one of the few teams that still move the ratings needles tremendously. I mean, that's why they're always on the big games.
Yeah.
They can suck, but they are still like, either you love them or you hate them, but people will watch them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why we've got the 3:25 game in the afternoon, Dallas on the road to Arizona, as Trey said. The only thing hotter in the Arizona desert right now is the dumpster fire that is the Cardinals.
I just love the term dumpster fire. I laugh every time I hear it. But
it has so many wonderful uses, whether it's sports or in life in general or radio stations.
Well played. Well played. Advantage O'Malley.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is the arrogance, right? I would have done more research on the Arizona Cardinals if I was like, there's a chance they could win.
Earlier when I asked you, do you have any hesitation or any trepidation about going on the road to Arizona? Your response would have been, I am so not worried. I didn't even bother to look up who their head coach is or who their quarterback is.
Yeah, I don't know who anybody on that team is. If I wasn't playing, if I was playing fantasy football, maybe, but no. The only thing I worry about is our arrogance going into it. Like just kind of taking it as like, we got this. We don't have to show up and play as hard as we did the last 2 weeks. That's the only thing I worry about.
Well, let's ride that wave of arrogance over into the college game, and let's touch on Trey's Longhorns.
What a perfect segue!
Not bad, huh? Not bad, good. Right? As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, I see an opportunity there. I'm going to grasp it. I'm going to grasp this opportunity, much like Micah Parsons grasps quarterbacks." And that is Trey, as a massive UT fan / alum, someone who actually threw some pads on at UT for a short while. I
never threw them on. I watched one day as I got invited to walk on, and I saw what they did to walk-ons, and I realized then that my football playing days were over.
It was a wise decision, and look at you now. So let's ride that wave of Texas football arrogance over into the college side of things. Number 3 ranked UT, who is now 3-0, playing what is sometimes in its history a dangerous game with Baylor. Now this has the same makings of Cowboys versus Cardinals. Cowboys are undefeated, Longhorns undefeated. Cardinals are don't have a win yet. Baylor has one win, but it was against a school whose initials are LIU. I didn't even bother to look up what school it was because I know they lost the next two games. And you know, one of the schools that Baylor lost to, Raj's Texas State.
Yeah, Southwest Texas.
So, they're Texas State now. When you were there, it was Southwest Texas.
I know.
So Trey,
but they did, yeah.
So what's your arrogance meter playing a Baylor team that lost to Texas State?
Hey, don't make it sound like that. Those guys tried.
Did they?
Well, the only sports organization that likes to shoot itself in the foot more than the Cowboys are the Texas Longhorns, and they do it with just great precision. And going into, I mean, Baylor's bad this year. God, I watched some of their games. They're bad. And so there shouldn't be it should be kind of like the Wyoming game last Saturday. It's going to be kind of a close first half, but ultimately, I mean, you should just wear them out and, you know, have an easy win. That being said, Texas loves to screw up. So like all Texas games, I am incredibly cautiously optimistic for this one. Like if we were going into Lubbock, then I would be really scared because you have a letdown in Lubbock. We suck in Lubbock, but I'm hopeful there.
I hate Baylor. Just for a personal reason. Like I hate that school. Every time
I do too, because Baylor's where my parents met.
Oh, really?
And that didn't work out good for anybody.
I did a show there, and they're very Baptist, I had to type up my entire set. This was back in the day. I'd type up my set and send it in for the Board of Regents to approve of the content, and I get the big stamped approval, the big red stamp that says approved. I'm not even making that up. It's a big giant red stamp that said approved for my 45-minute performance at Baylor.
Was that before or after all the sexual harassment and rape and sexual assault allegations with the football program?
2 or 3 years before. So I guess it was happening, but they just hadn't all. This is like, I think I made a joke about it. I think the month before they were allowed to dance, like they could actually have a dance, because they weren't allowed to have dances.
Nope.
And I made the joke on stage because I hate them. I go, who called? Who called and said it was okay? Like what? Like Commissioner Gordon had the bat phone. Like does your
he got a call directly from God that says,
"No, God's like, hey, it's cool if they shake a boot." But I
30 years after Footloose came out, then it was okay to dance at Baylor.
Yeah.
Yes. And I get this big red stamp saying your set is approved. Have fun entertaining those Baptist kids. And I get to the venue, and they're supposed to have a dressing room for me. And I'm not a picky guy. They were like, "What do you want on your rider?" I was like, "Can I just get a sandwich and chips and a Diet Coke?" That's all I wanted. They gave me a 4 little box of chocolates and went, "Here's your food." And they weren't even kidding. They're like, "Here's your food." And I had to share a dressing room with their drill team or whatever it was. And then they came back and went, "Hey, we forgot to tell you, one of the members of the Board of Regents wasn't present when they voted to approve it, and she voted against it, so you can't do any of your set." And
so
I'm literally walking.
You went to Waco for a sandwich and some chips?
No, I had to still perform for 45 minutes. They're like, just you can't do any of the stuff that you were going to do. So
they would rather you not do your pre-submitted material and instead let you loose on stage without any sort of a script?
Yes.
How much fun did you have that night, Raj?
Oh, I haven't taken a dump on a school that big in my life. You would have thought I had Indian food the night before, because I just
have they invited you back since then?
Not one time. Never.
And are you okay with that?
100%. So I hope the Longhorns take a bigger dump on them than I did, and that's impressive. Because every time I drive to Austin, every time I pass Baylor, I'm not even making this up. I stick my finger out the window, and I'm just like, the whole way from when McFarland Stadium starts to where Elvis ate breakfast. I just do this the whole time.
It's so funny that you do that too. It's just that you and I do it for two completely different reasons.
One has some childhood trauma at that.
A lot of it. So much. So basically what we're getting at is trauma breeds at Baylor.
Yes.
Let's continue.
That should be their slogan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's continue to ride the arrogance wave with one last little tidbit here on the Treehouse Football podcast. And that is one of the major stories that came out last week and into this week that takes football and celebrity and entertainment and brings them two together like two scissoring lesbians on a website. And that is the story that came out that quite possibly, maybe, kind of, sort of Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift quietly hanging out, according to sources.
Yeah, according to his brother, right? So
no, they've actually, well, yeah. I mean, that's what to me adds credibility to this story is that there's not a whole lot of outright denial about it, and when there is no outright denial, that usually means something is going on. And there's the reason why I mentioned the arrogant side of it is it's a story as old as time, and that is an NFL player having the swag to say, you know what that amazing, most popular, powerful pop singer needs in her life? Me.
Yeah.
Enter Travis Kelce at a Taylor Swift Eras show in July, where he shoots his shot and tries to give her his number, as told on the podcast that Travis and his brother do. I'll let him tell you how that went down.
If you're up on Taylor Swift concerts, there are friendship bracelets, and I received a bunch of them being there, but I wanted to give Taylor Swift one with my number on it. Not right now.
Ooh, your number's in 87 or your phone number?
You know which one. So she doesn't meet anybody, and she doesn't, or at least she didn't want to meet me. So I took it personal.
So he even said in that show, he was a little butthurt about that, but he understood it because he later said she doesn't talk to anybody before the show because she has to sing 44 songs. She's saving her voice. So that was in July. Fast forward to just last week. Now it seems like they're quietly hanging out.
Yeah.
And as any time anyone's ever been attached to Taylor Swift, I always wonder, what is it you think you're going to do different?
Yeah, every time she's dating somebody, I'm like, oh, I can't. She's trying to write a new album.
Exactly.
that's
I think everyone has that same thought. And then I started thinking about this. There has been a line of very good-looking, handsome, wealthy, talented suitors in Taylor Swift's wake, and Travis Kelce is now throwing his cleats into her arena, saying, I can do what all these other guys couldn't. And I thought, I don't know anybody else that would have that level of arrogance. And then I remembered, I know Trey Trenholm. And I think when you leave such a wake of bodies behind you, the way Taylor Swift has, I think deep down we all assume she's probably got a little crazy in her. And I think that is where Trey sees the spark.
Oh, I see a lot of crazy in her. Like you can just tell. Some of her songs, they're written by a crazy person, and you know it. And then
you look up the liner notes, and it says written by Taylor Swift, and you're like, well,
yeah. And you realize, she really is a disturbed, emotionally unbalanced person, and I love her. But you would really think though that Tony Romo would call Kelce up and go, "Hey, dating a pop star." I love
that you mentioned that, Trey, because I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not, but I put that in my notes. Right here, where it says underneath Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, I have two great examples from the Cowboys' recent history of dating starlets. That is Tony Romo and Jessica Simpson. That did not
Horrible.
end well. That was terrible for everybody involved. It was bad for Jessica Simpson. It was bad for the Cowboys. It was bad for Tony. It was kind of good for the IHOP off of 35. But then Miles Austin, I don't know if you guys remember this, Miles Austin for a brief time was linked with Kim Kardashian when he was at the height of his popularity.
Yes.
None of those things ended well for anybody. After Miles Austin dated Kim Kardashian, I don't even know if he caught a touchdown after that.
No, because the Kardashians will destroy you, and that's their function in life, is to destroy talented black men. Like that's what they look at. Kanye West, he was a musical genius. He married Kim Kardashian. Now he's got his ass crack showing on a boat in Venice. Like that's where.
If you want to talk about what they do to a black guy, shit, look what they did to Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, that's the ongoing joke,
and he's related.
That's an ongoing.
That's family.
That's the ongoing joke in like the comedy community is they're so bad at being women. Bruce Jenner's like, hold my beer. like let me show you bitches how this is done.
Right.
But my joke, and I've always said this, and I say it with so much passion, like the Kardashians are like bleach. If you're black and they get on you, you're ruined. Like that's just how that works. Every Reggie Bush.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's something you need to keep in mind. If you were a black man and you're trying to date one of the Kardashians, and using your bleach analogy, Raj, that is this: do not go in the bathroom when they are bleaching their buttholes, because that may be how it actually happens.
Because once they're done with that, you might be the butthole they're trying to bleach. Like that's what it's gonna be. Like they're just didn't he right after Jessica Simpson, didn't Romo date Carrie Underwood? Wasn't he going through like country singers? I think he was just like, let me just turn on that's the arrogance. Like he just turned on the country radio station. It was like I'll date her.
Tony did not learn his lesson with Jessica Simpson. Although I will say that Carrie Underwood seems to have her head on her shoulders a little bit straighter than Jessica Simpson did at the time.
Yeah.
But both of them pale in comparison to the mountain that Taylor Swift is, where Travis Kelce is trying to climb.
Yeah, that's if he secures the victory of dating and then marrying Taylor Swift, like she's so big, like I think was it some Eastern European country that she's performing in, like it helped their economy. Like that's how big her concert is. Like it's really like helped their GDP out. Like,
what would be a greater accomplishment in Travis Kelce's career? Winning another Super Bowl, including being named MVP in that Super Bowl,
right?
Or settling down, not just landing Taylor Swift, but actually settling down and doing the whole family thing with her. Which would be the greater accomplishment?
I would go Taylor Swift. Yeah.
You know why? Because there's been 53 other Super Bowls and MVPs in those games. He would just be like the 54th, whereas no one's reached the summit of Taylor Swift.
She's his Everest.
Why do we always come back to white guys on some crazy expedition of impossibilities?
That's his Everest, and all she really needs is some green boots. That's what she needs. She should settle down with an Indian dude. I think Britney Spears wouldn't have gone crazy had she married an Indian. It all comes back to they need to marry an Indian dude. I don't know why.
Are you offering yourself up as tribute?
To Taylor Swift, I don't think because I kind of see the crazy. I didn't before. I know she has writing. I didn't. She seemed.
This is why you need to hang out with Trey more. I've hung out with Trey enough over the years that he's my crazy barometer. I know that if I'm next to him and he starts gyrating his hips just a little bit more than usual, I know I know to stay away.
Okay, gotcha. Because I mean, I saw her at the VMAs, and I didn't see her. I was watching the VMAs, and I saw her on it, and she was having she was fangirling out with some of the acts and was having a good time. She was dancing, she was drinking, she was having a good time. I was like, okay, she likes to let her hair down. That's kind of cool. I didn't see the crazy, and then Trey smiled and went, "Oh yeah, she's crazy." And I was like, "Oh, then he knows." And I don't know how you spot it. I don't know what you saw in her that makes her crazy, except for like Dan was saying, the bodies that have been left behind in her wake. But I
Trey,
didn't see it.
Trey,
now.
how is it that you notice crazy in a woman?
Yeah,
It's a gift. It's like, you know,
Is it a gift from God?
some people see dead people. I see crazy.
Why didn't M. Night Shyamalan write about you?
Yeah.
I see crazy people. Thank you for hanging out with us in the Treehouse for the football podcast. We'll see you next time in the Treehouse. Be sure to follow any and all things Treehouse, treehouseonair.com, at Treehouse on Air. For me, it's at the Dan O'Malley. For Trey, it's at Trey Trinholm1. And for Raj, at Comedian Raj. Do us a favor. Tell a friend that the Treehouse football podcast is happening. And I don't know about the remainder of the NFL season or the remainder of the season for the Cowboys, but like the Cowboys right now, I feel like we are 2-0 in our young season. So go team. See you next time.
See ya.